Hello there and welcome to TelecomTV. My name is Martin Warwick. We're on tour, on location. We are in Amsterdam at the RAI Exhibition Centre and we're at Broadband World Forum 2014. And I'm talking now with Murray Cook, who is with Network Computing at Intel. Murray, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by to answer a few questions. I'm going to ask you about network transformation, if I might. Okay. There's a whole lot of stuff going on in the world's networks. Everything is changing. New technologies, new ways of looking at things, new partnerships, and business transformation as well as network transformation. They seem to be almost symbiotic. One leads to the other in this endless snake chewing its own tail. So given that business transformation is well underway and has been for some time, network transformation is now at a critical juncture for various reasons, whether it's fixed line or mobile. Again, things are changing because of new technologies. So let us begin with everything's predicated on broadband and the cloud.
Yes.
And with so far an agreement. Then we have one set of technologies being SDN and NFV, which seem to be taking the world by storm at the moment. Software-defined networks and network functions virtualization. How important do you think these technologies are and are going to be? And how will you help, through Intel, to pass things on and to enable and to help your customers?
Okay, I think the light bulb came on for Intel about 10 years ago, where we realized what we've been able to achieve in data centers, with servers, and with PCs. And in talking to our service provider customers, they felt that there was a problem about competing with over-the-top people who are now producing attractive services, where there wasn't the ability to generate good revenue flow from these services. And within a regulated market, how could the service providers differentiate? How could they compete? And the conclusion that we came to was that it wasn't going to be the well-known industry of equipment manufacturers that were going to make the difference. It was going to have to be done in software, exploiting the talents of the thousands of software houses around the planet to provide service differentiation for service providers. So we embarked on developing the technology, SDN and NFV technology, but it's not really about the technology, it's about what it enables for the service providers. Generating new revenues, creating new opportunities for them to develop their businesses in new ways.
Okay. You say it's not really about the technology, but it is, isn't it? Because it underpins it. It's the platform upon which the new edifice can be built.
It's an enabler.
Thank you, precisely.
Right.
Precisely. I actually went around it a longer way, but you're quite right. It's the enabler, and nobody cares really what the enabler is if you're a customer, but of course if you're providing enablement, you do worry about it, you are concerned about it. Yeah? First of all, look at the enablement side of it. How ready, how close to use case is SDN and NFV? We've had a huge focus on NFV in the past months, somewhat less on SDN, but I know from events I've been to, that you were at a couple of weeks or so ago, that SDN is now coming to the fore for operators as well. So can you talk to that first?
Sure. Where we've been developing over the last 5 years, there's been significant developments, not only in the silicon technology, but also our tools and the PCs that we put together for the software developers to enable the applications. We're now at a stage where software vendors can develop applications in confidence. They can put them on processing platforms that run at speeds that are attractive to carriers. We're finding various market segments where service providers can get started, typically in relatively low bandwidth areas, customer premises equipment, at the end of carrier Ethernet circuits with smart network terminating equipment, but also looking into the core networks, where what we've been seeing recently are research reports and other people coming out and saying in public that this technology is actually fit for purpose at the sort of speeds that carriers need inside their network. There's still some bits and pieces to be done, but people are starting to deploy real production applications in niche areas and getting real operational experience about the benefits.
Good, so that's the enablement part of it. Moving on now to new types of services and apps that will follow from this network transformation. What do you think they are? Okay,
I think it splits. If you look at the enterprise market, where a CIO is trying to deliver information from their data center or from the cloud to branch offices. What this technology is enabling are a whole new range of network efficiencies, new acceleration and optimization techniques that will improve the user experience, but also it enables them to adopt new security methods on their networks, where the security challenge is ever increasing. It's one area of the network where it's a continuous innovation space. And this sort of technology allows the ability for a CIO to make sure they've got the best protection on their network. So it's risk management on their network, it's empowering their business and saving them money as well.
Does SDN and NFV apply to both fixed and mobile networks?
Yes. You have to look at special niche areas. What we see in the space between the classic operators network and the internet, there's a space in the network known as the services LAN, which is classically where we would introduce value-adding, differentiating features. In the internet classic fixed broadband space, that's been classically things about traffic management, virus detection, parental control features in there. Similarly, in the mobile space, it started with things like WAP gateways decades ago, and again, similar sort of features. In those areas where different customer groups want to have their traffic routed through various functions, SDN has a critical role to play in getting the sort of flexibility that the operators need at speed. So the SDN piece can be used to route the traffic to the right NFV applications. They're very complementary.
And it's a very clear explanation, thank you.
Okay.
Now, the history of networks, as we all know from long experience of being in this industry, is that there are always bottlenecks, there are always pain points. And whenever a technology or a solution arrives, surely, to most intents and purposes, part of that pain goes away, but it reappears somewhere, it's referred.
Yes.
You've got a pain in your back, but you get it in the ankle, that
Yes.
kind of stuff. So, the pain point moves, the bottleneck moves, and I want to ask you about, in the context of SDN and NFV, which is what we've been talking about, do you think the next pain point, and I mean a really truly painful point, is going to be OSS and BSS? Because these back office functions, which are so important and which have been thrust not all that willingly into the limelight over recent years, are critical, but it doesn't seem to me that this can actually account for the bottlenecking and the trouble that's going to cause.
Yes, and I think a lot of people who are involved in the technology don't remember that service providers provide services, and that stuff that comes out of the computer systems, it's generated by those computer systems that handle the customer orders, that carve up bits of that network resource to do something useful. And so, like any new technology, yes, there are operational requirements to run it. We know what this SDN and NFV stuff looks like. We've got a whole load of tools like OpenStack now available in the enterprise, but they're not really quite carrier grade yet. And we're doing a lot of work in that area with the industry to understand what's needed. The ETSI Mano activity, for example, has done some great work in looking at what happens at what we call the resource layer, but there's still service layer issues to be sorted on top of that. And what we want to try and achieve is this rapid service innovation for service providers that means that they can bring services onto their network very quickly and cope with the evolving network infrastructure so they get the best return on investment.
Okay, Murray, thank you for that. Very, very clear explanation. Let's move on to something perhaps a little more light-hearted, but with a serious point at its core, which is this. You work for Intel. Vendors around the globe want to get hold of service providers. They want to talk to them, they want to plead with them, and they want to cajole, they want to show, they want to demonstrate, they want to say, this is great, you need it, please buy it.
Yes.
Okay? And I've spoken to a lot of service providers who say, do you know, I get an awful lot of these emails and an awful lot of these phone calls. If the boot were on the other foot, and for once you had overview and let's say total domination
Yes.
over the vendor ecosystem for a day, and you
Yes.
could sit them down and say, what would you say?
Okay, it has to be open, full stop. I spent over 30 years in this industry in British Telecom. What we were always striving for was that open flexibility to extend the network, to introduce new services the way that we wanted to. I think there's a big temptation for vendors to open wash their products, to take something that appears open, but maybe just fork the code a little bit to get some stickiness to their business. And what we're hearing from service providers all across the planet is that if vendors do this, they won't sell their products to service providers because of the stickiness that's associated. We're seeing great drive from all the carriers we're talking to, looking about seeking that independence of platform, of software, and initiatives in the open source community to make sure that as an industry we understand all the requirements. We come up with one way of doing things, not multiple ways of maybe doing something like the same thing. It has to be truly open.
Well, that's a good note to end on. Murray Cook, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.